Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into a very different episode this week because I'm not joined by my partner in crime. I am here, Alex Shark Sparks, and so is my producer, Vinny the Gooch Santucci. Bad news, he's a few minutes late, but the good news is he has to leave early, so at least there's that. Vinny, go ahead and say hi to everyone out there in TV land.
Hey, everybody! I'm really closing that window, so sorry you guys don't get any two hour episodes tonight.
I know, right? For whoever those random 44 people that watched 3 episodes ago, I'm really sorry. No Mitch and Vinny's leaving early, so not going to be a long one. But still going to talk sports because, why not? Lots of cool stuff going on. Still NBA playoffs happening. A lot going on with that. NHL playoffs happening. A lot going on with that. Couple of NFL moves. It seems like there's like one big NFL story every episode we have. So once a week there's like one big NFL story. So it's really convenient for us being a fantasy football podcast. And baseball technically is happening, but no one really cares about that. Although this week there is a baseball story to talk about. So, Vinny, unless there's something like a hot topic you want to talk about, I'm just going to kind of go through the talking points of things that I have, and we'll go one at a time. Because, like I said, there's no structure or organization this week because we almost didn't have this episode, but I do have a few things that we can discuss.
Yeah, no hot topics. I just know it's something that we definitely won't touch on moving forward. So, but I believe the WNBA season kicks off here pretty soon, and so we'll see. I can't remember who was it. You that picked Caitlin
It
Clark?
was me. It was me that picked like Caitlin Clark. Yes, sir.
So your girl back at it again.
Dude, not only that, at the Dallas Stars hockey game, they pointed out the number one overall pick, and then the WNBA draft this year, Paige, don't know her last name. Her name is Paige. They pointed her out in the crowd, and they're like, "Man, isn't Dallas lucky?" And I was like, "That's so random that you're pointing out a WNBA draft pick and saying that Dallas is lucky." Dallas currently has their team up 2 games now. At the time, they're up 1 game in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Doing great. They've got the first pick coming up in the NBA draft. They've got the Cowboys who are always relevant. They have all this stuff going. It's but man, aren't they lucky because they got the first pick in the WNBA draft and drafted Paige? Aren't
I
they
think it's
just so well off?
Paige Buchers or Paige Buckers or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably played for UConn or something. I don't know. Apologies.
No, she did. She did.
Apologies
She
to
went
women
to
and women's
UConn.
sports everywhere. I'm not knocking it. I just don't know. I thought it was funny the way they pointed it out. I was on Team Caitlin because I thought she was the biggest story, but that doesn't mean I always think the WNBA is the biggest story because it's not. But yeah. So anyway, since you swerved us into WNBA and I swerved us from there into hockey, yeah. So WNBA season starting soon. Can't tell you when, but yeah. They recently had the draft, so I guess it must be coming up soon here. But hockey, I mentioned last time, if you're not watching playoff hockey, you should. It's so fun. Especially, I don't know if you've seen the games, Vinny, but the Vegas Golden Knights versus Edmonton Oilers. Now,
Oh no, I haven't watched a whole lot of them. I've been watching some of the Dallas series.
okay,
It just
yeah, okay, go ahead.
no, just it's one of those things where it's I'll watch it when it's on and I'm home not doing something. But it's I've been watching a little bit more of the basketball. It's just hard to balance all of them right now. It's basketball's on at the same time as hockey, and I try to find the gaps to watch one versus the other. So I haven't had a chance to watch any of the night series, but I'm which is kind of sucks. But
Yeah, I was gonna say if you have time to watch one, that there may only be 1 game left, unfortunately, but I would watch that one. Obviously, it's not going the way I wanted because I'm adamantly anti-Canada having Lord Stanley's Cup, so I'm for Vegas. But the games have just been epic. We've already had one game go to overtime in a thriller, and then a game where a goal was scored with zero point 0.6 seconds left to win the game. Latest goal scored to win a game in playoff history. It was insane. All these games have been insane. They're so fun to watch. Playoff hockey is just so good because they just won it. Unlike basketball where I feel like every game doesn't matter, especially during the regular season. Baseball, every game doesn't matter. In the playoffs, even though every game matters, in hockey, because of the fact that they're out there having to skate hard the entire time and a goal could come at any second. It's not like in basketball where if you're down, any significant amount of points in basketball, there's a lot of time that has to take place in order for you to make up those points because you get a possession, they get a possession. There's a shot clock that they can run. There's fouls. There's all that crap. In hockey, there's not. It's just a live puck, right? If you foul them, you go down a man. So you can't just foul like you can in basketball. So it's live the whole time and crazy stuff can happen. So like they pull goalies and it just, especially at the end, it gets wild. But like playoff hockey, it's so fun to watch. If you're not watching it, I highly recommend. Now's the time to try it out. Plus, if you need a rooting interest, and this is what's helped me, like if you don't have a team because you're a hockey fan, do like I do and cheer for either team, USA or Canada, right? Like if you're Canadian, cheer for the Canadian teams. There's of the 8 teams left, there's 3 Canadian ones and 5 American ones. So it's pretty split. Like if you're an American, just choose root for the American team, the American in those series. That's all I'm doing. I'm cheering for the Panthers against the Leafs, cheering for the Knights against the Oilers, and cheering for the Stars against the Jets, just because like Team USA all the way, right? Yep. So you can manufacture reasons to be for a team.
It's actually a really good point though that you say that. It's the draw that I enjoy for like really competitive soccer. Is like there is nonstop action, and technically it's like that in basketball. But like you said, like possessions in basketball just don't really matter that much, because there's so much scoring. And I think the beauty of hockey is that they've found this balance of you're not going to catch too many 1-0, 2-1, 2-0 games like you do in soccer. You get a lot of these 3, 4, 5 goal wins. Real fast pace on a smaller ice, so like there's something happening all the time. You get what's the average shots per game, like somewhere around like 30ish.
Yeah, so like the 30s usually.
So like it is like this like perfect mix of everything you love about sports, like action, climax, shots on goal, scoring. But really what I think makes it special, like you said, is like basketball. I watch these teams, they're down 20 at halftime or 30 at halftime, and you're like, oh, there's no coming back from that. But, no lead is really too big in hockey, and it can turn on a dime. Like, even 2 goals is huge, but 2 goals can happen. I just watched Dallas do 2 goals, score 2 goals in like 30 seconds the other day. So it's like, it can happen that fast.
Yeah, and what I wanted to point out, so you mentioned like the high goal scoring, so Connor Hellebuyck is the goalie for the Winnipeg Jets. He is considered the best goalie in hockey. He's 2 years in a row. Well, last year he won the trophy for best goalie. This year he is the favorite to win it. In the playoffs he hasn't been the best, but that's what's so great about it. Like, this is the best goalie in hockey. This is his playoff goals allowed. 3, 1, 7, 5, 3, 2, 5, 3, 3, 0. He finally had 1 shutout. 5-3. This is the best goalie in hockey, and he's given up an average of 3 goals a game. So you're gonna get scoring. Like, that's one of the things people knock about soccer is like, yeah, there's 0-0 draws or 1-0, and soccer's great. If you don't like it, that's on you. But I get it. Like, there's no scoring in hockey. There's still a decent amount of scoring, but you also have the amazing stuff. Like the same goalie who shut out the Stars in Game 2 gave up 5 goals in Game 3. Right? Like, that's how fun this sport is to watch, because you don't know what's going to happen. And it's just that's why hockey can be so entertaining. So like I said, if you've never tried it, this is a great time to do it, because A, it's playoff hockey, so every game matters. B, playoff hockey, so it's a lot of the best players. And C, sometimes it's hard to get into things without a rooting interest. The hardest thing for me to do about getting into soccer is there's no major American league that's good. There's MLS, but that's like the 7th best league in the world, right? So it's really hard for me. Like, El Clasico was the other day, Barcelona versus Real Madrid. Like, yeah, it's El Clasico, it's a famous rivalry in soccer, but I've never been to either of those cities. I've never been to Spain. Like, what's my rooting interest, right? Like, I'll pick a player I like and watch the game, which I did, but certain people, that's really hard. Well, if you're having the same issue with finding a hockey team, well, like I said, if you're an American, just root for the American team. Now, I'm not saying there's not Canadians on the American teams. There absolutely are, but just like, you can manufacture a reason to cheer for a team, and it'll give you more of a rooting interest in a series. And once you have a rooting interest, it's a lot easier to get into it. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I know this isn't necessarily content driven, but on that same point, just something I thought about while you were saying that. If I had to say, and this is just a shameless plug for hockey, if you had an option to watch any live sport, I would rank, my order would probably go like big college football environment, any game, any home game against good teams, rivalry college basketball, and then I'd probably say hockey. Like, those are just the most enjoyable experiences as far as like the arena size, the temperature in the stadium, it's, and the constant action. I mean, you got action, you have ice and AC and fights. Like, what more do you want from live sports? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this a couple episodes ago when I last tried to sell people on hockey. Is to me it is one of, if not the most fun sport to go to, because with college athletics the level of play is not as good, but the environment can't be beat. With professional sports, the level of play is at its peak, but sometimes the environment's not great. I mean, you and I have both been to games at old Qualcomm Stadium for the Chargers. Like, those were not good environments, right? Like, we've been to Raider games in Vegas where they don't even have home fans, right? Like, there are some pretty crappy professional environments. The thing about hockey that's so great is anyone who's going to a hockey game, they're invested. And so you get that college atmosphere because of all the action and because of how exciting it is. You have that college fan atmosphere with the professional level of play, and it's the only sport where you get that, in my opinion.
And I don't think if you're going to a hockey game, I don't think you're just a casual sports fan. You get so many casual sports fans at MLB stadiums and NFL stadiums and NBA arenas. If you're spending money to go to a hockey game, you're somewhat invested in that team. Or at least 100%. A higher majority.
No, 100%. The thing about how many Laker games you and I have been to over the years, I'm adamantly anti-Laker. I'm not a Laker fan. I mean, I know you are, but I am not a Laker fan. But if someone tomorrow offered me tickets to go see a Laker game next year, and it could be against any random team, like, it doesn't have to be a team I care about. Like, hey man, do you want to go see Lakers Hornets? Yeah, I'm there. Like, yeah, I'll go, because it's an event going to a basketball game that's fun, but it's not going to be an atmosphere like. Yeah, I'm going to root against the Lakers, but I'm not going to go nuts rooting for the Hornets because I don't care about the Hornets. I'm not a huge basketball guy, but it's an event. Whereas, if it's a hockey game and someone just offers you tickets to a hockey game, if you're not into hockey, you're probably not going to go, right? But if you're into hockey or just into sports in general, you're going to go and you have a blast, and you're going to be into it. You're going to get invested.
Yeah, 1,000%.
All right, so anyway, I had to say my 2 cents about hockey. It's been great. You should check it out. But we can move on to some other stories. Since we referenced baseball just now being not the most entertaining to watch, and it's probably the least exciting to talk about at this time of year because it's spring when the games don't super matter that much, there is a big story. Pete Rose, his lifetime ban is over because he's no longer with us. He's no longer alive. They have lifted his lifetime ban. He and others like Shoeless Joe Jackson are now eligible for the Hall of Fame. So, Vinny, my question to you is, would that change anything for you if you had a Hall of Fame vote? Would you put him in the Hall or not?
I know that there's things that are bad and there's things that are illegal. I was never really strongly against Pete Rose being in the Hall of Fame even before this was lifted. If you get caught blatantly throwing games and you're in with the mob on that front, fine. The betting thing, I don't really care if you're betting on the league as long you're betting on your team to win. That doesn't really bother me that much, I think it's a little different with the death. They were also allowing Shoeless Joe Jackson and the Chicago White Sox back in, and I'm pretty sure they were throwing games and don't quote me on this, but I think their situation was a little different, and they may have been involved in the mafia a little bit.
Yeah, so not to cut off any, but
I thought Pete should have been in. And I have I have maybe a different stance on that. I also think Barry Bonds deserves to be in, even though he cheated and took steroids. So it's
okay. I'm gonna get to that. In a second, but real quick, just for those who don't know, because I'm an old man. I'm 40. Pete Rose is even older than that. Obviously. For those who don't know, Pete Rose is one of, if not the greatest hitter of all time. He has more hits than any other player ever. So he was an amazing player. He was also very successful as a manager. So whether or not he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame is strictly on the matter of morals. When it comes to statistics, he's a Hall of Famer. There's not a person on earth that knows about baseball that would argue he's not a Hall of Fame level player. So I just want to make sure that's clear when we're having this discussion. It's not about whether or not his accolades deserve to be in the Hall. There's no question he's a first ballot based on his accolades. The question is based on what he did. And for those who don't know what he did, he bet on baseball. It is the number one rule, do not bet on baseball. It's the same thing that Shoeless Joe Jackson and the Chicago Black Sox did. Obviously, it was the White Sox that were called the Black Sox because they all did that. They threw the World Series, though, and they did it for money. But the argument there was they were making peanuts and they made a lot more money by throwing the game. It's not like players now, right? I don't think you'd have a player now who's making $15 million a year willing to throw the game for $20 million, right? It's very different when you're making, hey, we'll give you $50 and a coupon to Chuck E. Cheese, or even have $10,000 back in the day. Like, okay, you're gonna take the $10K, right? So I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying, like Vinny said, it is a very different situation. And as far as we know, Pete Rose never bet against his own team. He only bet on his team to win. Which, Vinny, you pointed out, that doesn't bother you because you're betting on your team to win. The questionable thing is it kind of like insider trading because you have information? The game specifically where he was the manager and betting on his team, did he make decisions that may have negatively affected his team long term to win that game in the short term? You know what I mean? Like maybe you run out a reliever who should be getting some extra rest for the playoffs, but you run him out, to make sure you win that game, like things like that maybe put you in a worse position long term to win a bet short term. So there's still question marks there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just activating like Shohei Ohtani off the the DL like a month early because you just put 20 grand down on the
game. Exactly. Because that's the thing. There's no way to know for sure, right? Like we everyone assumes he didn't bet against his own team, but no one knows for sure. No one knows for sure. My argument, I mean, people know my stance on cheating. I think there are very stupid rules in every sport and every facet of life, right? Anywhere you go, there are going to be rules that you don't agree with. But at the end of the day, they are the rules. And if the rule says if you bet, you're banned, and you know that, and you bet anyway, then you're banned. Like, yeah. I get, like, I'm not saying he's a good or a bad person. Like that's a different conversation because like there's allegations that he maybe had statutory rape at some point. I'm not going to comment on that. I don't know, right? But it doesn't matter if he's a good or bad person. Doesn't matter if he's a good or bad player. At the end of the day, he knew that if you bet on baseball, you will get banned. That's what happened to Shoeless Joe and all the Black Sox before him. He knew that was a consequence, and he did it anyway. So and he got caught, and he was banned. So for that reason, Vinny, I'm very anti-cheater in sports. You should be banned. It sucks because to have someone of his caliber player not in the Hall does suck, I admit, but there have been players who've come out and said if he's ever in the Hall of Fame, I'm never going back, even though they're Hall of Famers themselves because it taints it for them. So I know a lot of players feel very passionate about it. I think it's just a simple case of if you break the rules and you knew there were rules, you're gone. Now
I think that's great. I think that's a great point. It's easy for me to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I think he should be in just on merit alone. But yeah, he blatantly broke the rules that were outlined in, eligibility for the Hall of Fame and participating in the major league sport. And yeah, that argument definitely sways me quite a bit because I am pretty much a stickler for like play stupid games, win stupid prizes, or like all your decisions have consequences, both good and bad.
Yeah, you reap what you sow.
So yeah, I agree with you. I never really cared all that much. Thought he deserved to be in the Hall, but you're right. Yeah, that was the rule, and you broke it knowingly. So maybe that.
Yeah, and that's the thing because this is the point that I heard made earlier today on ESPN. I don't know who said it, but like it's easier for us as fans to say, oh yeah, he deserves to be in the Hall, whereas players may feel very differently about it. And I'm sorry, I cannot remember the name of the player they were referencing, but the Hall of Fame player they were referencing that said he would never go back if Pete Rose got inducted is a former teammate of Pete Rose. So it's not like it's someone who didn't know him. This is his teammate who's now saying, if he's in, I'm never going back. That's pretty telling to me. That someone who, because like, you know how it is. Like, sometimes people are douchebags, but if they're on your team, they're your douchebag, right? Like, if you played sports, if you're on a team with somebody, it doesn't matter how much you dislike that person as a person. Once you're out there wearing the jersey together, it doesn't matter. You're all in it together, right?
Right.
So the fact that this is a teammate of his who's saying he doesn't deserve to be there, and if he's there, I'm not there because I don't want to be in the same club as him. That's pretty telling to me. So that's why I'm going to stick with he should stay banned. So let's move on to the next thing. You mentioned Barry Bonds. He think he deserves to be in the Hall. I'm going to let you give your reasons, but I am going to ask, is your reasoning behind it that he was cheating at a time when everyone was cheating and he was just better at it, so he should be in the Hall?
No, I get stuck watching all these stories coming out about like just how good he was and actually just remembering how good he was and And it's just so unfortunate that like steroids is part of his story, just because like when you think of steroids in baseball, you don't have the level of eye hand coordination and skill that he did. Like obviously it yoked him up and he was super strong and was able to just rip home runs. But from an actual like talent perspective, it's I get it. Like you don't have to like that opinion. I'm not saying that he deserves to be in based on like the rules that were laid out. It's just hard to find somebody who was ever better at hitting a baseball than Barry Bonds, and then he just had to have steroids on top of it. It's just truly insane to like hear some of the stories coming out and think, wow, this guy will never be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think so. Like the two arguments there is one is, and the one that I just kind of handed to you, but it's not your reason, so that's interesting. But the argument is it's called the steroid era. Like when you talk about baseball, when you talk about the '90s, it in the early 2000s, it's referred to as the steroid era because it is assumed that it was rampant and everyone was doing it. And the argument is at a time when everyone was doing it, he was still the best, so that's what makes him deserving. The counter argument, though, is that how many people had integrity and didn't juice, and as a result, they didn't even get to have careers because of guys like Barry Bonds, right?
Right.
They ended up being, guys who were, role players, or they were brought in maybe to run the bases, or they were just there for fielding. Like they didn't get their opportunity to shine. To show how good they truly were because they were overshadowed by the guys who were juicing.
Yeah.
So and I do get what you're saying because you're right. I could start taking steroids today and get ripped. I still would not be able to hit 100-mile-per-hour fastball. Would not happen. No amount of steroids is going to change the fact that I would just fan on it every time. So I get what you're saying from that standpoint. But my argument against him and all the steroid users has always been, it was a rule that you shouldn't do it. Same with Pete Rose, right? Steroids are illegal. You shouldn't do it. And also, they're not just illegal in baseball. They're illegal in our country, right? It's like you're breaking the law. You're not just. It shouldn't have to be in the even if it's not in the baseball rules. Baseball shouldn't say, hey, you can't murder your wife, because that's already illegal. You know what I mean? Like, so if it's not in the baseball rules that you can't juice, well, it doesn't matter because you can't do it in our country. And baseball is played primarily in our country. I mean, at the time you had the Montreal Expos. And the Toronto Blue Jays were only Canadian teams, and now we don't have the Expos anymore. So,
yeah, no. And here's the thing: it's like it's definitely not like a hill I would like die on for sure. Like, it like I said, I think the hardest part for me is it's so unfortunate that steroids are part of his story because he was so good. Like, I mean, the guy could literally hit home runs virtually on demand. Like in professional baseball games, or not. I mean. I listened to this story. It was A.J. Przinsky was the catcher at the time, and it was when he was about to break Willie Mays' home run record, and they went on a road trip, and he was like, hey boys, I'm not going to hit any home runs this trip. And they're just talking about how like he's just, double to the gap, double to the gap, double to the gap, double to the gap all weekend. They come back to San Francisco in the first game. He addresses the team and is like, hey, tonight's the night it's going to happen. And sure enough, he does it. And it's just like, that is just like wild to me to think like that in a sport where you have a 30% success rate to be a Hall of Famer, to hit the ball and let alone hit home runs, and to literally like pick and choose what you want to do on a game-to-game basis, like when people actually pitch to you. Like there's I honestly can't think of anybody else in professional baseball, historically speaking, that has ever had an approach like that. I mean, even just like, yeah, they intentionally walk like Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani, but not to the level they did with Barry Bonds. And it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, but the question is, if Aaron Judge was juicing, would they be doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, Aaron Judge is so good when he's, as far as we know, not on steroids. How good would he be if he was on them? You know what I mean? Like, maybe Barry Bonds is still better, or maybe he makes Barry Bonds look like an average guy. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we just don't know because people aren't doing it anymore. But at the same time, also medicine's gotten better, and there's legal stuff now that makes you more athletic. So there's a lot that goes into that. But the point being, you can't. It's really hard to compare someone to other eras because Well, they weren't in the steroid era, right? Before the steroid era, it wasn't rampant, it wasn't available. Post steroid era, they've cracked down on it so much, it's really hard to compare anyone from any of the three eras, the pre, during, or post steroid era, just because they were so different.
I would almost like wish that we could just create a J league for every professional sports, and it's just like the juiced league. Like you can have MLB, and then you get juiced MLB, and then you have the NFL, and you get juiced NFL, and just really like test what like peak human performance is like when they're on performing enhancing drugs, because that would just be phenomenal to watch.
I mean, considering what we've seen juicing does to your brain, I feel like there'd be a lot more fights. The juiced hockey league would be insane. Is all
like,
I'm
can
saying.
you imagine like juiced LaDainian Tomlinson? Like, I mean, come on, dude. Juiced Ray Lewis.
Well, I don't know if juiced LT would do that much because like LT was like a smaller guy, but one guy that would be crazy to see on the juice. Let's transition into our next story then, Vin, is a guy who just signed a new NFL contract. Juiced Derrick Henry.
Juiced Derrick Henry
just got a $30 million bag to play another 2 years with the Ravens. This is a guy who's 31. Most teams get rid of running backs when they turn 30 because they're over the hill. Henry, no, man, let's give him $15 million a season for the next 2 years, and he's worth every penny. I mean, this guy just defies all the odds. It's going to be a sad day when Father Time catches up to him, and he does show his age, and I think he's going to be the kind of player that falls off a cliff, kind of like a Curtis Martin, who like he had that one amazing season at the age of 30, and then at the age of 31, he was terrible. I think it's going to be like a cliff face. I don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to happen. But until then, man, ride it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah, man, he's different. I also here's what I think separates Derrick Henry from everybody else, and it's golly, it reminds me of this interview that with Chris Carter, and Chris Carter was talking to who? Dang. Anyways, there was an interview and they were talking to a wide receiver, and he was like, "Oh man, just imagine." Oh, DK Metcalf, and he was like, "Dude, just imagine how good you'd be if you like really focused on your like lifestyle and diet." And he's like, "Oh man, I could never give up my candy. I eat like a big bag a day of candy and stuff like that." And he was like, the Chris Carter was like, "Man, I just don't think that's like how you get to greatness." Derrick Henry spends $250,000 of a year on his fitness and body maintenance. This is not like a diet ploy, but like this is what it takes to be the best sometimes. And when you're trying to get an edge, he doesn't eat fried foods, he doesn't eat dairy, he doesn't eat gluten, he doesn't do artificial sugars. He maintains with IV fluids, vitamins, nutrients. He works out twice a day. He's super strict on like when he eats. I don't think he eats until like the afternoon. And here's the thing, like it's a diet. Nobody knows if it works or doesn't work. It works for him. And honestly, I mean, I don't think you could complain. Even just common logic, you can't complain about somebody who's like, "Oh, I'm not going to eat fried foods or artificial sugars, like or any sugar." You know what I mean? Like unless it's like fruit. Like that's just natural knowledge to know that's most likely better for you than the alternative. I just think like he might be that guy that can run the ball till 35 because he treats his body different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you treat your body like a temple, and I mean, and look, that's what got him paid $30 million, the fact that he can still do it at this age, right? But most running backs at this age wouldn't be getting any kind of deal. They're getting like a veteran's minimum deal to be a backup. He's getting $30 million to be a starter because he ran for 1,900 yards last season.
Yeah, I mean, just think two years ago, Jonathan Taylor was holding out because he couldn't get $10 million a year, and now we have 31-year-old Derrick Henry getting $15 million a year, 25.
And Jonathan Taylor was what, 24 when he was holding out?
Yeah. 24, 25 years old. And Derrick Henry's getting $25 million guaranteed on this contract at 31 years old. Like, that is unheard of.
And you talk about taking care of his body. 2021 is the only season in his career where he did not play the full season. There's only been one season that was shortened by injury. And by the way, he had 900 yards in 8 games that season, which is just wild. But he's played,
I remember
the
that
full
either.
Season. Like, like there's games where he sat, like these games where he like missed a game. That's because they sat him out the last game because they already locked him in the playoffs or what have you. So like it wasn't necessary, but like he's played every year. And look at the carries: 300, 378, 349, 280, 325. Like, you know what I mean? He's and this season he was on pace for over 400. Like if he played all season. So yeah, this is just I don't know. It's wild what he's doing. We'll
And
see how long his body can keep it up.
they fed him the rock in college. They fed him the rock in high school. I think like when you compare his overall touches competitively to like anybody else, it like blows him out of the water. It's truly
Yeah,
impressive.
he's got over 2,300 career carries. Like who's let's go to someone like Emmitt Smith. I wonder how many career carries he had. Let's see. I don't know if his stats will be here, but oops, would help if I spelled Emmitt correctly. There are two M's in Emmitt, two T's. How do you spell this guy's name?
Two M's, two T's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so he had 4,400 carries. So I mean, Henry's close. What did I say? Henry was at 30. What?
I think he was only at 2,500, but Emmett played forever though.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna look at. So he played from 90 to 04. So was that 15 years? So Emmett played for 15 seasons, and he had 4,400 carries.
And I think
Henry
Derrick
is
Henry
currently sitting at 2,300 carries, so he's only about halfway down the carries, but he's only played, what is that, 8 seasons? 9 seasons.
Wow.
So
Emmitt Smith on longevity.
yeah, well, that's why I wanted to see an older player like Emmett, because Emmett, I mean, yes, longevity, but he was also a guy that they fed him the rock everywhere he went. But yeah, he's still one of the best to ever do it. So, but yeah, good for him. He got himself paid. I think it's kind of the only NFL news that I really have.
Whoa, the only NFL news? We're not going to talk about your boy?
Which boy are we talking about?
And the legacy that Derek Carr is leaving behind.
Oh yeah, I meant to talk. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I had texted myself to talk to you about that. Yeah, so Vinny's favorite player has unfortunately retired from the NFL. Derek Carr, the only player to lose to I think every team in the NFL. One playoff appearance, no playoff wins. But man, did he get his bag! Here, I'll show you because I don't know if you'll see this, Vinny. I think I'm sharing screen, but we'll see. I have a picture here. Obviously, the people watching won't be able to see it, but I'll read it off to you. So some stats.
I still see your ESPN, but
Okay.
I think I've maybe seen.
Yeah, you've probably seen. I may have sent it to you, or you may have seen it elsewhere. But yeah, so some stats about Derek Carr getting paid. As soon as this will load, my computer's being slow at a really bad time. Here we go. Derek Carr made over $205 million when it's all said and done. He had a 77-92 record, so 45% win percentage. Like I said, only one trip to the playoffs and it was a loss. He was never elite, but good enough to get paid like he was. He had the ninth most cash from 2014 to 2024. So in the last decade, he's made the ninth most cash of any player. And this is a time span where you had Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, all these guys balling out. And he made the ninth most in that crew. The comment was not Kirk Cousins level, but first ballot bag getter, Derek Carr.
Man, not quite Kirk Cousins level, but that I just did the math. That's $2.7 million per win he got.
And I don't have. That's amazing. And I don't have it in front of me now, but if you look at the QB class he was in, I think like every other QB like from that year was like a bust. And like he just made so much. Like one of them only made like $70,000, but he got paid.
I mean, on the flip side, Patrick Mahomes has an 81% winning percentage, is 89-23 in his career. So he already has 12 more wins and 70 less losses.
And they play in the same division, so it's not like he's playing different competition. Well, at least they did for but yeah.
Yeah, just crazy. Listen, here's the thing. I'm not necessarily like a Derek Carr hater.
You absolutely are a Derek Carr hater, and you know it, Vinny. Just own it.
It's not that I'm a hater. It's just the quarterback's the most important position in the league, and when you're not like a top 20 guy, like you're good enough to play, but you shouldn't be a career starter for like 10 or 11 years, like with the level of success he had. And here's the thing. Derek Carr, before he broke his leg, was great. When he led us, we were like 13, and the Raiders were like 13-2. He broke his ankle. We ended up losing in the playoffs in the first round to the Texans. And he came back and was just never the same. I think after that, he was a little scared in the pocket, didn't really like getting hit. And I'm not accusing him of anything. It's just my complete fan biased standpoint and how I viewed it, especially over those first couple of years after the injury. But maybe you can blame it on injury, maybe not. I don't know. I just think his level of play left a lot to be desired, to be getting the bag like he was, and to routinely buy into him as the starting quarterback for the Raiders. You know what I mean?
I mean, but my counterpoint is you mentioned he took us to the playoffs, something that has not happened outside of that since 2002. So, I mean, the last 22 seasons, we've been to the playoffs once, and just because of Derek Carr, I will always have love in my heart for him because of that. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's also just says that we are diehard fans, and it sucks to be a
I
Raider
mean,
fan.
well, yeah, it's just because we don't give a run. But I mean, look at the garbage we've been dealing with since, right? The fact that we're both excited about Geno Smith, like that tells you how low the bar is. And no offense to
Oh
Geno, but like,
man, yeah, very low. I
yeah,
remember being excited about Aaron Brooks. You remember we had the Aaron when we had Aaron
yeah,
Brooks
yeah, I was excited
first
about that for
round.
sure. Former Saints
Excited about
QB.
like Terry Collins at one point in time. Yeah, man, it's one
Yeah,
of those
Kerry
things.
Collins from the Giants. I was excited about that. Like that's crazy. Like a guy the Giants didn't want, and we were excited, but we were excited about having Kerry Collins, and not me personally, but there are a lot of people that were excited when we got Carson Palmer to come out of retirement. That's right, a guy who was retired.
Oh, that's
Fans
right.
got excited that he
Yeah.
came out of retirement to play for us. Now I was not a fan of that because I didn't think he was very good, and Jason Campbell had just taken us to that 8-8 season, so I didn't want to move off of Campbell. But again, that's how low the bar is. We had an 8-8 season. I was so stoked.
Yeah,
So
just so stoked. It's like, yeah. But I'd have a running joke with my dad, and he calls me because he knows it pisses me off. But my dad is the biggest off-season Raider fan in the entire world, and he will call me and text me about the draft and free agent signings and coaching hires and GM hires, and he's like, I really think we're going to be good this year. This is the year we're winning the Super Bowl, and then he will not watch a single regular season game because they always suck. So it's so funny. I'm like, yeah, this is your time. Every year you think we're winning the Super Bowl during the offseason. And he's done this since, God, as long as I can remember. So that's like 23 years since we even made the playoffs of him saying that we're going to win the Super Bowl in the offseason, only for them to win like 5 games.
you gotta let him live the dream, Ben. Gotta let him live the dream.
Let him live the dream.
I guess one other thing, I mean, it happens to be on my screen here, so I guess I should bring it up. Hendrickson, NFL sack leader, the Bengals not giving him a bag, and he has now said that he's not going to play if he doesn't get a contract. So, do you think he really holds out?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think he's in deep. I was reading an article about with some of his quotes. He's like, listen, I tried really hard not to take this personally, but then when they kept lowballing me and stopped reaching out, like the team literally stopped reaching out. He's like, it's hard to not take it personal at this point. And he made a really good point. He goes, listen, like the NFL's a business. He's like, I'm not necessarily mad at the Bengals, but if I had a big contract and I had 2.5 sacks over the last couple of years, they're going to ask me to take a pay cut me, or trade me. So I've been the sack leader for 2 years in a row. I want to be paid. And he's not asking to like break records. My assumption is that he just wants to be in that category of highly paid defensive ends, which is a position that people get paid. So
Yeah, I mean,
they should have. I don't understand what they're doing. I don't get it. I don't
I
understand what
don't
they're
I don't
doing.
either. They went out and they franchise tag it, the wide receiver. They're paying their wide receivers. They're getting in their money, and they're not paying this guy when they're so abysmal on defense, and he's the one good defensive player they have. And to your point, yeah, I also heard that interview where he talked about how they stopped reaching out to him. It wasn't just they stopped reaching out to him. They also made a statement to the media that if he doesn't show up to OTAs, they would start fining him. OTAs are over a month away. He hasn't said anything, and they're already they're already planning on fining me. So they've already made their decision. They're not going to try to negotiate anymore, right? He's like they basically told me with that message to the media they're no longer negotiating. If they're already telling the media they're planning on fining me if I hold out, when they're the ones who aren't talking to me, like clearly the Bengals have already decided they're ready to move on. Like what's he supposed to do about it?
Yeah, yeah, it's the whole thing is just crazy. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It's just a wild situation. I think that if you want to talk about fumbling the bag, I mean, we talked about this earlier on. So you had Higgins due for a contract, Jamar Chase due for a renegotiation, Hendrickson due for a renegotiation. And they waited so long to give Higgins and Chase their money that they meanwhile watched garbage wide receivers in comparison take massive contracts and just elevate the bar. Where like, look what the Vikings did. They extended Justin Jefferson last year, and that saved them money, right? Like they now have to pay Jamar Chase QB money. He's getting $40 million a year because of what all these other contracts are doing, the salary cap being raised. So all they had to do is not be cheap last year, extend these guys, re-sign these guys, trade them if you want to, and they've just instead cost themselves so much money because every year someone signs an absolutely outrageous contract that breaks the bar. So like, wouldn't you? I would rather be the team that breaks the bar than the team that now needs to play catch up 2 years later.
Yeah, especially
So,
with Chase. Like Higgins is one thing. It's like clearly they hadn't made up their mind whether or not they wanted to keep him. But like you knew last year you're keeping Chase. There's no way you're letting that guy walk. And not just because he's talented, but because he's your quarterback's college like teammate. Like your quarterback loves that guy. You're not your franchise player. You're not letting Jamar Chase go. So you knew last year you were keeping him. So to your point, why not go ahead and take care of it now? And yeah, with Hendrickson, like I used to always be on the side of management. Oh, you signed a contract, you should play to what you signed, and I do agree with that to the most point, other than rookie deals, because rookie deals aren't great, right? And most players they only have like what is it? The average player plays for 2.5 years in the NFL. Now, obviously, these guys are above average, so they're gonna get longer careers. But like anything, like an injury can happen at any point and take you out of it. There was the Ravens safety tore his ACL this week. I forget his name, but it's not important who he is. But like the fact of the matter is the guy who was starting playoff games, and he tore his ACL in the offseason when they're not even in OTAs yet. This is like him doing like a workout on his own. Like anything can happen at any time. There's no telling when he'll be back or if he'll be back to 100% or even if he'll have a roster spot because he wasn't a highly paid player, right?
yeah.
So if that happens to Hendrickson when he's just working out, even if it's during actual Bengals practice, like his career could end and never be the same, and he'll still be on his rookie deal. So, like, I get it. I get him wanting to get paid. He's earned it. When you lead the league in sacks 2 years in a row, and most people will tell you that one of the most important positions is defensive end, your edge rusher, I mean, like, he's of the opinion, what else I got to do to get paid here? So, I get it.
nothing makes me more. And listen, I understand it's a business. You got to build a roster, but I just went back and looked. So Myles Garrett signed an extension this year, making $40 million a year. So, the next two highest are Max Crosby at 35 million, Bosa at 34, and then Justin Jefferson signed in last year during the season a contract extension, 4 years, 140. Jamar Chase got this spring 4 years, 160. So waiting cost them $20 million over the course of 4 years, and that's not light money.
No, I mean, it is for the owners of the NFL teams, but not when it comes to the salary cap.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, the long story short, Bengals, what the hell? You're really fighting to make yourself just a terrible franchise with so much talent on your roster too. God, it's really sad to see what they do to that team.
All right, well, let's move on to the NBA because you got about 20 or so minutes left, and NBA playoffs are also happening. I'm going to let you take the lead here. Is there anything you want to talk about in the NBA because you're more of an NBA guy than me? If not, I have stuff I can talk about, but I figured I'd give you the opportunity to go first.
Yeah. Man, I think just how disappointing of a conference semifinals or second round it's been. And here's the thing is, I tend to gravitate towards underdogs. But man, when you're the Cavs 4-1, the Celtics are going to lose 4-1. There's no way they come back and beat the Knicks without Jason Tatum. I thought I said this a couple like literally right after they said that Curry was going to be out basically the rest of the series or for the next week, that I thought the Warriors were the strongest team in the West. The only series that's really worth the ding right now is the Thunder Nuggets. It's the only one that seems to be evenly matched. You never know which way it's going to go. It's hard to say which one the better team is, but it just in here the Pacers Knicks is just not what the Eastern Conference deserved, as well as like the Cavs and Celtics. But again, I like the underdog stories. It's just I think sports are still about star power a little bit too. So it's just tough to see how things shake out sometimes when you have teams that are obviously the better team over the course of the season and just get railroaded, you know?
Yeah, I mean you've got two different teams lost major stars. Like you said, the Celtics lost Tatum, and there's no telling when he'll be back. His was a nasty injury. He already had to have surgery. And then the Warriors lost Steph, and like we talked about last week on the pod, would he really be back for Game 5, or were they just, hinting at that to try to, give people hope? And sure enough, he's not going to play Game 5. Now they're thinking about Game 6. I bet he's not coming back. First of all, I don't know they're getting past the Game 5, but even if they did, I don't know that he's going to be able to come back. And even if he did, like, what percentage he's going to be at? Because it's not like he's not playing Game 5 and he'll be at 100% Game 6, right? Like, that's not how it works. If you're not good enough to play in Game 5, then 2 days later, however many days rest you get, 2-3 days, you're not going to get 100% by Game 6, right? So, like, even if somehow the Warriors win this game at home and he's back for Game 6, it's going to be like at 80% maybe, you know what I mean? And is that really going to make a big enough difference?
Yeah, it's I think that series is also locked, and it's I guess like less of it is about who won; it's more about how they won, which maybe is even more impressive and counter argumentative to me. Is it's like I don't think they're the better team. The Pacers beat a fully loaded Cavs 4-1. Outside of like the late game injury for Tatum last week, the Knicks kind of dominated the Celtics. The
Celtics dominated the Knicks until the fourth quarter when the Celtics stopped playing basketball, and the Knicks
really
come back from 20. Yeah,
they've
won 3 games, and 2 of them they came back from down 20 or more.
Yeah, it's just I guess it's just hard when you have teams that are this good and like this late in the playoffs, and you're dealing with like 4-1 blowouts. So it's been hard to kind of buy in to the NBA playoffs so far because of how these series have gone in this round in particular. Like the first round was almost more exciting with some of the matchups. So
yeah, I mean, and I commented on that in the first round even too. Like we had the 2 series in the West that went to 7 games, which is great. Every other game was 4-1 or 4-0. Same thing here. You're going to have 3 series that end 4-1 most likely. This series may go the distance, which could be cool. But then just from a rating standpoint, the NBA's got to be sweating bullets right now because like they're going to end up in a situation where they have either Denver or Oklahoma City. Neither of those is a great market, right? Minnesota, not a good market. Indiana, like these aren't huge market teams. Like Boston or New York, they're golden here, but like 3 of the 4 teams left in the playoffs are going to be relatively small market teams. And if the Thunder and the T-Wolves both win their series, which they're the teams that are leading right now, you're not going to have any team west of Oklahoma in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which means you're going to lose a lot of the West Coast market, which is a pretty big market when you take California out of the mix.
I mean, that's actually kind of a fun thought process. Like, what do you think with the let's just assume the 4 teams are the Knicks, like the teams winning their series right now. And maybe we can even put Thunder and Nuggets. Let's keep that a toss-up. What do you think the NBA's ideal matchup is between the 5 teams who still have a chance? And then what do you think their least favorite matchup would be? I kind of have an idea, but curious.
Okay, so are we? So we're assuming these series all end the way like. Can I pick any team over here, or just the teams we think are gonna?
I would assume like the only so when I say 5 teams, you've got Pacers, Knicks, Timberwolves, and then Thunder or Nuggets.
Gotcha. Okay, because if they could pick any 2 teams, I think they would choose Celtics Warriors. They can't though, and that's not because Boston's a bigger market than New York. It's because there are more Boston Celtics fans nationwide than New York Knicks fans. Because over the past 30 years, the Celtics have been a much more successful organization, so there's more younger people who care about Boston than the Knicks. So that's why I think it'd be Celtics Warriors. But yes, to answer your question, if we assume all the chalk from here on out win, then yeah, I mean obviously they'd much rather have Knicks than Pacers in the finals. That's a given. New York versus Indianapolis. And then as far as the best team from the West, as far as ratings goes. Man, that's tough. I guess Denver because of Jokic, because you have like a freak of nature star like face of the league type player, whereas you don't have that as much with OKC and the Timberwolves. Not that they don't have stars, but like Jokic is the face of the league type player, whereas the other teams don't have that.
Yeah, I agree. I think from that perspective, I 100% agree. I think the Knicks and Nuggets would probably be the ideal matchup. The Knicks are kind of funny, and I really don't care. I think the Knicks are kind of like the Cowboys. Like, they're just so delusional. Like, they think they're always... I don't know. They're one of those franchises to me, just always thinks they're better than they are. So I just kind of hope that they get their hopes and dreams stomped at some point. But I do think that the Knicks and Nuggets would be the matchup that they would want to see the most.
I think the one they would least want to see would be Thunder Pacers. I feel like that'd be one of the lowest rated NBA final series in at least recent memory.
Interesting. So I would assume my opinion would be Timberwolves Pacers. But I do think that maybe I'm not crediting Anthony Edwards' star power at all. Because I do think he has more star power than anybody on the Thunder. So that's actually interesting.
Yeah, that's my argument. Is like I can't tell you who's the Thunder star. Like, I can't tell you.
Who's actually the league MVP is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But
right.
yeah,
No, sorry. Just to be clear, I know his name, but I'm saying like I don't think that's a household name. Is what I'm saying.
No, I completely agree. Actually, it's funny. Like, I was going to say that. I was like, yeah, he's the MVP and he's arguably the best player in basketball this year. But like, I don't think it's so weird.
Him and Halliburton, the Pacers' best player, Tyrese Halliburton, is also not a household name. I still don't think
he's that good. I still don't think he's that good.
Yeah.
Like that, I watch his game and I'm like, it's not that good. He's having a great year, but like, he's not like elite to me. I don't think he does anything like great. And I might eat crow in a couple of years when he like is this person, but yeah, you're right. I don't think he has any star power. The Thunder could probably be the most boring 1 seed. Probably the most boring, dominant NBA team I can remember in recent memory. They're just a great team, and I know that's what you want.
I mean, it's a great story.
Players, you want superstars.
It's a great story, and if you like underdogs, like, it's easy to think like they're the underdog. They're the 1 seed, so they're not an underdog, but like they feel that way because they don't have the household name star power that these other teams have, so they feel like the underdog. Right? And underdogs are fun to root for until you get to the finals. Like, and if you get to the finals, the underdog versus underdog are like two non-big teams. Like, there's no big bad wolf anymore. Like, there's no the heavy favorites were Cavs and Celtics on one side, and probably Nuggets Warriors on the other. And we're looking at a world where all those teams are going to be out. Don't look now, though. I will say the Celtics were down by 9 when we started talking about this, and they're now out 2. So they are going on a run. They're hearing us, Ben. They're hearing us. But yeah, with Jason Tatum out, even if they somehow win this game on the emotions at home. Oh, and right when I said that, Nick said a 3. So, but yeah,
it is crazy though. Like, like we talk about trust the process and all that stuff. I mean, people forget the Thunder were really bad for a few years there after they
let all their stars go.
Yeah, let all their stars go. I think they had like Chris Paul, Paul George, and KD. Like they've let many stars.
They had Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook on the same team and couldn't win. That's wild to me when you think about that now.
I know, and then it really is crazy to think about, like just how many stars they had at that point and didn't win. And then even like their role players were still pretty good at that point in time. So just it's a good story for them. Yay for the underdog.
Also, I mean, another counterpoint. You said trust the process. Well, I mean that's a reference to the 76ers. You'll notice they didn't make the playoffs. In every team in the trophy league,
they're atrocious. And they gave one of.
I know they don't have all those players anymore, but it's just kind of funny. Like they were the trust the process team. They never made a deep playoff run, and now they're not even relevant anymore. So.
Yeah, they were like one of the favorites for the lottery and didn't get it, which is a nice little segue into another basketball topic for you.
Yeah, so my conspiracy theory stays alive. The Dallas Mavericks now have the first pick in the NBA draft. They had a 1.4% chance of winning the lottery, which they did. For those who don't know, NFL draft is in reverse order of standing. So if you're the worst team in the league, you get first pick. The NBA had too many teams tanking to try to get first pick, so that they changed it a while back to there's a lottery now, where you get a percentage chance to get first pick based on how poorly you did. But even a team like the Mavericks, who finished, what did they finish, like 10th or 11th? Like, they didn't finish like that far down in their conference.
No, I think they were like, the Mavs were in the play-in game. I think they were like, what, the 9th or 10th seed?
Yeah, they were the 10th seed. So, I mean, again, it's only out of 15, so I mean, still not great. But like, they were the 10th seed in their conference, which was even record with the 10th seed here. So like, they were a top 20 team. There's 10 teams worse than them. They got the first pick in the NBA draft, which is going to be, Cooper Flag is whatever they expect to go as the first pick. So now they're going to get him to pair with Anthony Davis, and like I mentioned my conspiracy theory, Luka goes back to the Mavericks, doesn't sign an extension with the Lakers, and then they've got the big three. So the dream is still alive. I will say that as a Mavericks fan, I'm torn. On one hand, I'm stoked because like, hey, maybe the Mavs won't be as bad as I thought they were going to be, because they're going to be able to get someone who might be a potential franchise player after they gave up their franchise player. On the other hand, I'm upset because like, I don't want Nico to get rewarded for being a horrible GM. I still think the Luka trade was one of the worst things ever. I did see a funny quote that is within 5 minutes of getting the first pick, Nico started texting Cooper and harassing him about his weight.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Telling him we're only gonna take you if you promise that you play good defense.
Yeah, play D and don't eat food. So
yeah, no, it was honestly I feel the same way with everything. When I saw that they got the number one pick, it was like an "are you kidding me" moment, but only because like somehow that ends up working out for Nico Harrison, and not like we didn't actually get to see the catastrophe unfold.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so. Like, I was robbed of getting the closure on that story, like, because it was going to be brutal. Like, it wasn't. We all know it wasn't going to work, and it was going to be brutal. And if somehow miracle it did, and Anthony Davis like returned to who he was 10 years ago before he had all these injury issues, like, and Kyrie came back and he's back to 100%, and the Mavs look great, that'd be a good story too. Like, and we'd all be eating crow because we crapped all over, the decision he made. I still think it'd be a poor choice that he lucked out, but still, like, we got robbed of that story because now they got bailed out by this draft pick.
Yeah, and it's a legacy builder for someone like a GM, but like 1.4% chance or whatever they had. It's like the third lowest odds ever for someone who got the number one pick. It's luck. It's literally, they call it the lottery for the reason. He won the lottery. I'm sitting here looking at this headline over there. It's like, Mavs won't trade number one pick, I flag. It's like, what do you mean I flag? Mavs won't trade number one pick, will draft flag. Like,
Yeah.
if they're eyeing flag, like even just that freaking headline pisses me off. Like, that they're planning to draft flag. Like, no, the whole world knows that Cooper Flag is the number one pick overall. They shouldn't be eyeing flag. Like, this is not someone that needs due diligence. It's just draft flag.
And just a heads up, for those listening, like, yes, there's a chance that flag is a bust, right? Like, there's no guarantees in life. Generally speaking, the guys that are taken with the first pick are pretty good players. But like, yeah, he might not work out. But the thing is, if he doesn't work out, the story's not going to be, oh, Nico made a bad pick, because this is the pick that every GM was going to make. The story's going to be that, flag was a bust. It'll be about flag. It won't be about Nico making the mistake. So that's why he got bailed out on the Luka trade. Also, I want to point out, flag is a forward just like Anthony Davis. Imagine if you paired this forward with, I don't know, a guard of some kind like Luka.
Yeah, no, I know. Exactly. Yeah, it's how about this? Did you see the conspiracy theory that the year after Chris Paul was traded to LA, who did they trade? The Pelicans got the number one pick that year after. Obviously the Lakers getting Luka from the Mavs.
There was another one too. It was Chris Paul in 2011. Chris Paul was traded to the Clippers by the New Orleans Hornets. The New Orleans Hornets then got the number one overall pick in the 2012 draft. In 2019, Anthony Davis was traded to LA, which by the way gets traded a lot. From again New Orleans. New Orleans going off their squad. Got the number one pick in 2019, and then 2025, Luka traded to LA. Mavs with the number one pick. So it seems like the NBA lottery might be a little rigged where if you give away your star, you get the first pick. And this goes back to Mitch's conspiracy theory. He's not here, but I'm going to represent you, Mitch, because you're my boy. Mitch's conspiracy theory that the Mavs just didn't want to pay the money. Their money's all tied up in this casino deal, and they did not want to have to pay Luka a max deal. Well, you know who makes a lot more, but it's also a franchise player? The first pick in the draft, and he makes a lot less money than you have to pay Luka. So they made a deal. His conspiracy theory is going to be they made a deal with the league to get the first pick. They ship Luka off to LA, hoping that LA, Luka and LeBron might make a run and help them with the ratings in the playoffs. So they're going to end up in a situation where it's like, I don't know, the Pacers and Thunder, which might happen. And the league gives them the first round pick so that they get to keep a star player, still be a relevant team in Dallas, but not pay so much money. That's conspiracy. I don't buy into that one, but I know that's what my boy Mitch would pitch if you were here, so I felt obligated to throw it out there for him.
I mean, yeah. Here's the thing, though: is like I'm gonna jump on the conspiracy theory all day because when it comes to professional sports, name one sport outside of but there's not even a salary cap, so it doesn't even count. Like when you're thinking like Premier League soccer, like La Liga or something like that. But it is all about star power in major markets. That's what the NBA is. You got 5 starters on the floor. Starters play 80 to 95% of the game, depending on how many minutes you're rocking them out there, right? About 80% of the game or so. So it's crazy to me to think that like you can't that anybody would rule out a conspiracy of, hey, you ship a star player to a major market and we'll reward you for it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about.
I don't trust anything enough to say that that's not a one. That the chance of that is zero.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about betting scandals in baseball earlier. Well, the NBA had a betting scandal where the refs were in on it. You know what I mean? In recent memory. So they're definitely not. And I'm not saying the NBA front office is the same as the referee. So please don't run with that story. But what I'm saying, since all the major news outlets listen to this pod, but what I'm saying is like it absolutely could be rigged in a way to keep the money where it's supposed to be because like we talked about, it's in their best interest to have the teams with the stars be good. I mean, there's so many people out there who in the past 20 years because of LeBron James have been fans of Cleveland, fans of Miami, and fans of LA because they follow the player, not the team. Because unlike in other team sports where there are a ton of players, I'll go back to hockey because I happen to be watching a hockey game in the background. In hockey, you've got 4 lines of 3 guys each that play your forward positions, right? So like your stars, you have stars, sure, but you need 12 guys out there playing the forward position. You have another 6 guys playing defense, right? So you're cycling through 18 guys in any given game. I mean, there's some others too, but like you're cycling through 18 to 20 guys in a game, whereas in the NBA, you can only have 12 guys on the team. You've got 5 guys who start, and maybe a couple come off the bench. Most of them get no minutes. So like, it's a lot thinner as far as the stars carrying a lot more weight. So people will follow the stars and not necessarily the team, and that's good for the NBA as long as they can push their star power. But if they ever do get to combine a star with a big market franchise, that's where they're just making bank.
Yeah, and also ironic. Hey, maybe you know what? If we believe in this conspiracy theory, I am now rooting for the Pacers and Timberwolves or Thunder, whatever's going to make the NBA the least amount of money. I'm here for it.
Only under the assumption that my conspiracy theory is correct. Well, you're for that anyway because you're anti-Knicks. Like you've already said, you don't want the Knicks to win. So
yeah, I'm anti-Knicks. I'm anti-Knicks for sure. The Knicks to me are what would be a good college football comparison? Maybe like a TCU, like a team that thinks they deserve to be there,
like a Boise State.
I think like a Boise State. Yeah, but Boise State might be a little too. Maybe Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame might be a fair comparison.
Yeah, Notre Dame's pretty good.
Like they are still like a good program. They have a lot of fans. They're like in that top bracket. But like, sorry, bro, you're just not him. You're not that guy. You're not that guy. Yeah. I think that's a pretty good comparison. I think Notre Dame is a good one, or like a Wisconsin. But I don't think like Wisconsin fans are super obnoxious. Like Notre Dame fans are pretty obnoxious.
Yeah, no, I think Notre Dame's a perfect analogy. A team that always feels like they should be in the conversation when they really shouldn't be in the conversation because they're not even in a conference.
Yeah, I mean, hey, props to them. They beat some good teams this year. This was probably their best shot ever to win a national championship, in my opinion, and it didn't happen. But, I said TCU because I was thinking of like a team that is kind of good, like historically
No,
competitive.
I felt where you. That's why I threw out Boise. I felt like that was the route
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
going,
yeah.
like those kind of.
But you're right, a
The
little too
teams
low.
that back before back when only what was it? Only two teams win the championship. The team that always get like third place and they go and win the Fiesta Bowl and be like, see, we should have been in the title game. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah. Um, that one stings a little bit too because it reminds me of the year that Auburn went undefeated, and it was USC versus
LSU, I think.
Oklahoma.
Oh, it was Oklahoma. That was LSU. I guess it could have been LSU. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. We got that was the year with Cadillac Williams and Ronnie Brown and all
Yeah,
those
yeah.
NFL guys.
And I think USC ended up winning, and they would have been the odd one out. But yeah,
We went and won the
Good
Sugar Bowl and
good
got
riddance to the BCS.
yeah.
Good riddance to the BCS. Like, what a wild thing to think that like when a major sport used a computer system to narrow it down to the top two teams, and only like two teams had a chance for the national championship. Like, you could go undefeated, and just because a computer said you're not good enough, like you didn't even have a chance to compete for the championship. Like, that is crazy to me.
I mean, it was a different era then. Yeah, imagine trying to tell someone now that a team went undefeated in the SEC and didn't get to play for the title.
Oh man, yeah, dude, just wild. Or like that we were like arbitrarily assigning like one loss or two loss teams as like the best team over like another one.
Yeah.
To think like and now like there's all this pushback on expanding and expanding. Like at the end of the day, like somebody's always going to complain because somebody's always going to be the odd man out.
Yeah, there's
Like,
always,
this is the first
there's
year
always
we
going to be
went
the guy
to
who's the
12.
next man up that's going to complain. Like, you're never going to stop the complaints. I don't know what they were thinking. Like, you're never going to get the complaints to stop.
Yeah, you never get those complaints to stop. There's especially when you're talking about narrowing it down from what like 130 programs to four to two to four to 12. Yeah,
What?
it's crazy.
I mean, I think the solution, which they're not going to do, but the solution that would make things better, and I know you're out of time, which is real fast, is you just make it where you win your conference you're in, and you have a couple of at-large bids, and that's it. And that would prevent teams from wanting to have these super conferences because it takes you out of the national title picture, but it also means that everyone gets their chance every year, and we might get more parity across the league because people will see a chance to go and play elsewhere. I know you're out of time, Ben, so let's wrap it up. Any final thoughts?
No, you're good. You're good. But yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think what's crazy is that that's kind of like the rule now to an extent. Like, you get in if you win your major conference, and meanwhile, like the SEC is such a money grab that we've got. What is the SEC up to now? Almost
Like
16, 18
I was gonna
teams,
say 18 teams, I think.
and like powerhouse programs. Like we let Texas we over since the expansion started, Missouri, Texas A&M, and then
Texas,
you've got
Oklahoma.
Texas, Oklahoma, on top of what was already Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina, historically good when you're thinking kind of old school wise. It just crazy, just absolutely crazy to think that like, oh, we're only letting two schools in, we're only letting four schools in, and like we just keep like to the playoffs, and like that's what the SEC wants to set themselves up for. Like, that doesn't make sense. You would think eventually you'd want to branch off or something, or guarantee that they get two spots into the playoffs, like they're guaranteed an at-large.
Yeah,
bid
and,
as
and they
well.
may try to negotiate that with the NCAA at some point, once they get big enough as a super conference. But at the end of the day, it's all about money. And the fact of the matter is, Texas saw more opportunity to make money by joining the SEC than by running the Big 12 and having their own network. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. That Texas saw more money in going to the SEC and revenue sharing with these 17 other teams than they did being the big dog in their own power conference with their own network. They had the Longhorn Network. They had their own SEC network, Longhorn Network. They had their own network. They had more money going to the SEC. Because if not, they wouldn't have moved.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy to think about, but yeah, cool. That was actually a lot of good content for sans Mitch.
well, I mean,
Unfortunately.
the star was
I
here
love
and so was
Mitch's
our
take,
producer,
though.
so.
I know. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, great chatting as always. Go and enjoy your dinner date. And any final thoughts before we call it here?
Go US, down with Canada.
That's right. right now the Panthers leading the Maple Leafs. Let's go, boys.
Let's go. All right. See ya.
All right. Later, everyone.
Bye.